let's get to Zohran Mamdani.
Well, while they're asking him to clarify, maybe he can clarify his father's statements when he said, his father in the book, that we should sympathize with suicide bombers, that we shouldn't stigmatize them, but we should look at it as political violence. Maybe he can clarify when he said he wanted.
Oh my God, now they're using Mahmoud Mamdani's writing, talking about, no, this is real. Mahmoud Mamdani is an academic, Chad. Of course he's talked about, like, he didn't say we shouldn't stigmatize suicide bombers. Okay, shut the fuck up. No, he is a professor, okay? And in an academic setting, he is contextualizing suicide bombing, like, and how it is analyzed, and the difference in the way that suicide bombings are analyzed by the media as opposed to other forms of violence conducted by the state. He's a academic. This is just anti-intellectual nonsense. And also, it's not Zohran Mamdani who said these things. It's his dad's writing in an academic context. Yeah, academic advocates for understanding rather than reactionary superficial analysis of they hate us for our freedom. Shocking. Yeah. It's like when someone talks about like kamikaze pilots of World War II, right? And digging deep into the mindset of a kamikaze pilot. That's not analysis is not endorsement, okay? I hate this dumb shit. People do this to me all the time too. Yeah, this was the passage they cut out. Suicide bombings needs to be understood as a feature of modern political violence rather than stigmatized. These are the words of Zohran Mamdani's father, a current professor at Columbia. Clearly, the prime objective of the suicide bomber is not to terminate his or her own life, but that of others defined as enemies. We need to recognize the suicide bomber first and foremost as a category of soldier. Does not the suicide bomber join both aspects of our humanity, particularly as it has been fashioned by political modernity, in that we are willing to subordinate life, both our own and that of others, to objectives we consider higher than life? Suicide bombing needs to be understood as a feature of modern political violence rather than stigmatized as a mark of barbarism. The danger of a moral discussion by itself, how can culture condone suicide, is that it quickly turns into a replay of culture talk, stereotyping individuals and preventing any deliberation about alternative strategies. It's literally saying that suicide bombing, which comes with a loss of personal life, is no different than a soldier taking up arms and putting themselves in the direct line of fire. It is quite literally an academic contextualization of suicide bombing. He's saying instead of analyzing this as like barbaric acts and something that is like something that is just like simply different than all other forms of violence, what must be done in an academic context is to analyze why soldiers don't target civilians. Shut the suck my dick. 5 most subscribed soldiers don't target civilians. Are you out of your mind? What the are you saying, brother? Where are you? Israel is doing a genocide. But even if we don't talk about Israel, you think the American military didn't brutalize civilians? What are you, stupid? What the what are you saying? That's the entire purpose of soldiering. That's the whole thing. That's the whole purpose. Yeah, I mean, they aren't supposed to. Oh, okay, then. Yeah, Exhibit A, U.S. Exhibit B, Israel. Exhibit C, for all the liberals, Russia. There has never been a moment where soldiers have not deliberately targeted civilians, okay? Get the out of here. Yes, for as long as soldiers have existed, soldiers have brutally murdered civilians, okay? Always. The only place where soldiers don't target civilians is in fantasy, in your mind. Yeah, Iraq had 1 million soldiers. Yeah, it's crazy. One of the largest standing militaries of all time is crazy. It's wild that they're trying to do sins of the father, and the only thing that they're doing is basically exposing how stupid they are for their lack of like, this is basically just to say, I don't want to think about this. You should not think about this either. This is scary. These are scary thoughts. This is something that I receive all the time. Now, obviously, I will offer an academic contextualization of like militancy that forms against Israel and against America and things of that nature. But then I also will go to the realm of entertainment. I have the capacity to try to, like, you know, make something funny or whatever, and I have my heated moments as well, which is precisely the reason why, like, I'm, you know, understandably people can use that to their advantage if they want to craft a elaborate narrative that like I'm on board with this or that, right? But this is a literal academic writing in writing scholarly research. Like, what do you mean? In a way, it's no different than people being like, oh, these guys are studying cat piss. They're studying piss, animal piss. It's like, yeah, of course they're doing that, you dumb They're researchers. It's stupid to me. It sounds stupid and scary, so they shouldn't. It's like, shut the up. This isn't the Zohran story. Zohran sold out today and hired DNC folk. Okay, shut up.
Defund the police. Maybe he can clarify when he said that he wanted a $30 hour, a $30 per hour.
Like, yeah, no wonder this guy's like, Zohran's dad wrote words in a paper. $30. Ah! $30, 30. Idiot. Jesus Christ, dude. We are getting dumber and dumber by the moment, dude. Holy 30 hours a dollar. Like, this is basically in a couple years, if there is no stopping this anti-intellectual sentiment, which I don't think there is, we're just gonna have Fox News mainstream media personalities just doing this. Communist! He's a communist! And then that's it. And then everyone else that's tuning in is going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe it's a communist! Bah! What the It's just the Tom Homanification of American politics. This is where the discourse is, dude. This is where the discourse is. We're like, you don't even need to make sense. You can just go, blah, 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 scary Muslim. And then that's it. That's it. On the independent side, we got, you know, the Andrew Tates of the world being like goo goo gaga, trying to directly tailor their commentary to like the mind of a 14-year-old boy, or rather a 35-year-old man who is intellectually stunted and resembles the mindset of a 14-year-old boy. Talking about like girls have cooties. Don't talk to them. Women are bitches. They have cooties. Goo goo gaga. It's nap time. It's literally idiocracy, bro. It is straight up idiocracy. What the
minimum wage in New York City. There's a lot to clarify.
Not really a great message when New York lost so many people in 9/11 to say his dad to say I sympathize with suicide bombers. We need to understand them.
It's unbelievable.
He grew up in that house under his parents, you know, under their supervision. Does he think the way that his parents do? Does he want to sympathize with suicide bombers?
Well, he says the whole thing globalizing
every day, bro. He wants to globalize the enchilada. The enchilada. The infantada. The scary thing. I don't even know what he's saying. I don't know what he's saying. Isn't that scary? Isn't that scary to you? Isn't that scary? It's a language I don't understand. We don't need words. We don't need language, not English. We don't need not English language in words. Speak! He's brown. He's brown. He's brown. He's a brown Muslim guy. He's a brown Muslim guy. He's going to do 9/11. He's going to do 9/11. He's a brown Muslim guy. Please don't vote for him. That's basically all this is. Half of the goddamn country is like a lobotomy recipient. What do we do? It's over. It's done. It's done. Dying empire. Put out the pasture. It's done. It's over. Hit a hard reset. Like, genuinely, half of the country is getting their notes from people who sound like they got lobotomized, dude. 51 seconds in, they started off by being like, well, his dad wrote scary word in book. His dad teaching? His dad teaching in elite institution that make you gay and woke. His dad talk suicide, bombing, no like. 30-hour minimum. 30. He want $1 million janitor. He's socialist. It's bad and wrong. And then the other guy's like, oh, scary word. Muslim word.
Intifada.
Yeah.
So he once says, he goes, not a statement that I use, but he says, I understand the sentiment. That was his clarification. It's not a statement I use, but I understand the sentiment.
I don't use that exact phrase,
right,
but I believe what it means.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Listen.
Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the Intifada?
That's not language that I use.
Why not just condemn it?
Ultimately, it's not language that I use. It's language I understand there are concerns about.
But you're standing with the people that are saying it in the middle of the street. If a let's not like
right after October 7th,
let's not
he got
pretend. Is there two standards here? If a Republican candidate had the KKK behind him screaming stuff, what would be the?
Yeah, that'd be entirely. First of all, you're literally the token black commentator who is supposed to defend the KKK. Brian Kilmeade, sitting across from you, has made numerous jokes about white supremacy directly to your face. Okay, so that wouldn't be a bridge too far. That wouldn't be alarming for you. You do it every day. Okay, that's your job. I remember because Brian Kilmeade was like, oh, we should play after Cory Booker's like record breaking filibuster. Brian Kilmeade straight up sat across from this asshole and literally said, we should play the entire speech of the previous filibuster record holder. The previous record holder for the filibuster was Strom Thurmond, a white nationalist, white supremacist, who literally held that record for trying to stop the Voting Rights Act passage, dude. Yesterday, his co-host on the same news network, Greg Butfeld, had this to say, reclaiming the word Nazi and making jokes about how it's just like the N-word. Here, let's take a look. Let's see. Oh, I wonder what he would do about this if there was some kind of racist language taking place on Fox News of all places. I wonder what he would have to say about that.
This is why the criticism doesn't matter to us when you call us Nazis, Nazi this, Nazi that. You know, I'm beginning to think they don't like us. You know what? I've said this before. We need to learn from the blacks. The way
the blacks
they were able to remove the power from the N-word by using it. So from now on, it's what up, my Nazi? Hey, what up, my Nazi? Oh my God. Hey, what's hanging, my Nazi?
Nazi, please.
Yeah, that would be crazy, right? That'd be crazy. He'd be the first. He'd be the first to call in his resignation, you know?
Would it be just enough to say, look, I don't stand with their sentiment?
Dog, you are defending a president who literally did that after Charlottesville when actual Nazis and the Klan, well, the difference between the Klan and the Nazis was the fact that, you know, these guys didn't even hide their faces. We're saying Jews will not replace us, okay? And Donald Trump unironically said, well, there's very fine people on both sides. You know, both sides have some very fine people. So shut the up.
I wouldn't say it that way. My point of view is this. So why is it okay for the guy to stand with the people?
That's literally what Trump did. Also, there is no moral equivalence between a bunch of anti-Israel protesters and the Klan. Okay? There is no moral equivalence between these two. One is on the side of justice. The other is on the side of injustice. The comparison here in this circumstance would be pro-Israel people. They are the Klan in this conflict. They are the ones who represent the Klan in this conflict. Shut the up. This is precisely the reason why this discourse around globalize the enchilada, globalize the infantada is idiotic.
Blocking Jews from going to class on Columbia that literally held janitorial.
That's not what happened. That never happened. God, I hate mainstream media for even giving any sort of breathing room for this kind of idiotic discourse. It's totally fake, totally phony. They never blocked Jews from going to school or anywhere else on the campus. They took up space in a quad away from anyone else, and all of these people that tried to go into the quad to start to beat up these protesters. All the counter protesters were not allowed into this quad space. It had nothing to do with students not being able to go to class. It was a lie. It was a complete lie. It was a complete and utter lie. And the media absolutely played a major role in advancing this lie.
Hostage who has been coordinating protests in the middle of the street. Then he was screaming at Tom Homan. Remember, he got in Tom Homan's face when he was trying to arrest people as well. So let's not have a double standard for the next mayor of New York because he's a Democrat.
So here's his clarification.
When he was on with Kristen Welker saying that, then the clip we just showed you, that was a few weeks ago. And now, according to the New York Times, they're saying that he says he'll discourage the term globalize the intifada. The article says Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee in the race for mayor of New York City, moved to distance himself from comments that sparked outrage during the primary. Why is he distancing himself possibly from this? Is it because he knows this is not a winning message for many people in America? Does he know that there's so many Jewish people that live here in America? Is he saying this because he believes it or he wants to win an election?
That's not distance either. We're asking for a full condemnation.
Right.
We're asking for a full, we want, as they tell us with every issue, moral clarity. Say that the Jewish state has every right to exist, that you don't want to globalize the intifada.
It's definitely not a statement that we believe in here because we don't.
Not one we use every day.
It.
But I'll add to this. He still wants to defund the police. When asked about it, he says he wants to build up mental health services. He wants social workers to go out to domestic disputes. He said,
this is why you'd never capitulate to these demons, okay? Do you understand? This is why. Because it's not a sincere request. None of these people are genuinely going, oh, man, I really wanted to vote for you, but, like, this is the one hang up that I have. Do you understand? Also, they've gotten dumber and dumber over the years. I'm blown away by how stupid these are, bro. It is crazy. Globalize the enchilada. So, dude, you're a communicator. That is your primary responsibility. That's the one job you have.
domestic dispute should be given as a traffic ticket. I was doing that police village thing over the weekend. I said, how do you view domestic calls? He goes, the most dangerous calls we can ever get. Do you think a social worker goes to college to say, now I want to go do domestic disputes, knock on a door because there's screaming on the other?
Wait, what? That's literally the, yes. Yeah, that is the, yes. Literally. What are they saying? That's the job. You think a EMT goes and gets the specific classification to what? Save people's lives? Do you think a first responder that got EMS training is going to do what? Offer someone who is experiencing a fentanyl overdose Narcan? Yeah, this is so stupid. You're literally just describing the actual job, but you're using like sarcastic voice, and then that's it. That's like, I guess that you owned it. Like, that's the job. Yes. What's a firefighter supposed to go through fire academy? What are they supposed to do? Stop fires? Save people from burning buildings? Yeah, that's the job.
Other side.
Wants to raise corporate taxes, wants to raise taxes on the rich. The rich pay the taxes for New York City. There's going to be a mass exodus. Businesses are going to leave because they don't want that 11% corporate tax on top of the city tax, on top of the state tax, on top of the federal tax. They're not going
anywhere. They're not going anywhere. You joke, but if they could opt out of paying firefighters and pay private firefighters, they would do it in a heartbeat. I know, and that's where we're moving towards.
It's going to be expensive, more expensive to live here.
Die on calls for domestic violence than any other call, and you want to.
And a second day of meetings set to begin between the New York City Democratic mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani and more.
They can't even say his name right, let alone like globalize the infantada. God, this stuff pisses me off, dude. This stuff pisses me off so much. Yeah, remember this, by the way. Also, Polymarket owned Newswire. Resurface photo shows New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani with leftist streamer Hasan who once said America deserved 9/11. Yeah, it didn't work, did it? Dumbass. So Zohran is supposed to make this like big reveal about whether or not he will, I don't know, say globalize the enchiladas anymore or not. But here is the Here's the I-24 News English statement on it. And this is just proof of exactly what I was saying yesterday, which is don't give these guys an inch, okay? Do not.
Away from the Middle East. According to the New York Times, New York City's Democratic mayoral candidate, that's Zohran Mamdani, you've probably heard of him, he said he will refrain from using the phrase globalize the intifada and would, as put, discourage others from using the phrase. Now, Mamdani's comments apparently emerged from a closed-door meeting with business leaders on Tuesday, and if true, it would be the first time that he's expressed any issue with the threatening phrase, which shows solidarity with Palestinians, but it espouses violence against Israelis. And
every damn day of the week, Zohran Mamdani should be working to improve his base of support within the boomer black and brown population of New York voters that are reliable Democratic Party voters. That's it. Don't touch any of this shit, dude. Please. Just go out and door knock and talk to every auntie and every unk you can find. That's it. And not in a disingenuous Hillary Clinton hot sauce in my bag kind of way, but in a way that actually matters. Go out, talk to community leaders, show support. That's it. None of this shit matters. The idea that oh my God, the Jewish voters are so scared. Get the out of here. Suck my dick. This is Israeli television, by the way. I-24 is Israeli news, is the English broadcaster for Israeli news.
notably, he's not publicly commented on these reports. But to get more into the topic here, as pressing as it is, we're joined by our host and correspondent, Nicole Zedek. Nicole, jumping right into this. Look, this is a guy who's an avowed anti-Israel figure. How much does it matter, what phrases he uses or doesn't? I mean, he is what he is. He stands by his politics. If anything, I think that can be said accurately about him right now is, he is who he represents to be. And again, these are staunch positions that he staked out against Israel.
Absolutely. It's no surprise to us here in studio as it's continued to state his anti-Israel policies. And this is what has won a lot of the support inside New York. And so the fact that people are walking away from this meeting with reports that he says, I'm going to refrain from using this statement. I might encourage others not to, but not flat out condemning it, not flat out condemning globalize the intifada. Now, he has stated that it's not the mayor's job to police free speech. This is kind of the stance that he's taking. But in New York, in the United States, in these European Western worlds, we've seen them use this phrase, globalize the intifada. They're trying to claim it's some sort of a phrase to unite the resistance and calling on resistance, not actual hate speech and harm. But David, here in studio, here in Israel, we know exactly what the intifada means. We saw two of them here in Israel. And we saw these suicide bombings, the violence. We know what an intifada is. And so when you hear that phrase, globalize the intifada, that's why it is causing such harm and fear in many of the Jewish populations. And this is also why he's controversial for the Democrats themselves. Some of the big name Democrats, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they have refrained from actually endorsing him because he's refrained from condemning this statement. And so this could cause a little bit of an issue for Mamdani. But right now, he's still winning in the polls, David, despite not coming out and fully backing this. Maybe that's what some of the people in New York want to see, as that's the exact place that we're hearing this chant, globalize the intifada. That's in the streets of New York, so it shouldn't necessarily come as a surprise.
Yeah, with the Jews and here he is a progressive figurehead. The Jews seemingly always having to sort of defend why they're offended. Sort of stands out to me, at least, when I hear this among progressives who are sensitive to people's sensitivities and things that offend them. Not when it comes to this, not when it comes to Israel. Look, he is a major symbol, I would argue, a figurehead. What does it say, about the national mood, perhaps, that a figure like this, young guy that he is, not really an experienced politician, coming in with controversial policies on our issues, propelled to the top, as he may be. It seems like he's the front runner to be the mayor of New York City, even at this point. What does it tell us, Nicole, about the national mood and what makes it?
Yawn. Nobody cares. Everybody hates Israel. It's fuck Israel. Now it's fuck Israel. Tomorrow it's fuck Israel forever. Okay, sorry, you don't get to do a genocide and then complain about the way that people feel about the country doing a genocide. Yeah, this is the piece that also came out. What should Jewish New Yorkers make of Zohran Mamdani? Beth Miller and Joanne Mort wrote this piece. Hard to imagine, Tim Baker says, hard to imagine a less vital contributor to this discourse than Joanne Mort, the person who I once heard say, I used to fall asleep worrying about whether I was a socialist. Now I worry about how to make money. Okay? Lots of problems with this piece, but it's totally a batshit claim that is backed up by zero evidence. Of course, freedom of speech must be defended, but language that makes many of us feel unsafe and has in fact led to violence and even deaths on U.S. soil of innocent Jews who were murdered simply because they were Jews must not be excused. It's not what happened. Okay? Now, she can't say free Palestine has led to the murder of Jews, right? Because that's what the one shooter said. Okay? That's what the guy who shot the embassy staff said. Because that would come across as insane. People would be like, I don't know about this. So that's why she has to associate it with globalize the intifada. But what she actually wants to say, that she can't say openly, is free Palestine is leading people into fear. One of the two people on the embassy staff wasn't Jewish either, by the way. He was a Christian. His wife that he was supposed to marry was Jewish. In any case, many feel spurious claims that unspecified words led to the killing of innocent Jewish people. It's all very fuzzy. And it can be. No intellectual rigor required. It's all about vibes, solipsism, and lurid innuendo. There's been 900 takes this week trying to Elizabeth Warrenize Mamdani by having him condemn Arabic words in random tweets. They all have the same gross combination of veiled menace and condescension wrapped up in a whiny standpoint theory claptrap. I hate it. Just have an opinion. You have such a great career ahead of you. Just mindlessly recite every liberal Zionist cliche and it'll get easier. If you don't, we'll keep heavily implying you're an anti-Semite until the end of time. Now, in the past, many politicians, I think, that got hit with these accusations would have quickly capitulated, would have quickly conceded and apologized profusely for the crime, the greatest crime of all time, which is to ever dare criticize Israel. Okay? But we don't live in that time anymore. You can win. You can be like, nah, it's Israel time, actually. Oh, what is that? Hold on. Oh, what does that say? It's Israel o'clock, as a matter of fact. Here's what I say to you. You can do that and still win in the most Jewish city on the planet. Okay? The notion that like New York Jews care about this or should care about this is idiotic. That's it. Oh, who's calling? Oh, that's right. Oh, it's Israel calling. That's it. Look at the time. It's bull. It's bull. So we absolutely should not back away from this. Anyway, let's hear this moronic coverage from the Morning Joe. Again, perennial losers. Let's hear what these losers have to say.
Nominee for New York City mayor says he will discourage people from using the term globalize the intifada. Zohran Mamdani has faced criticism on the campaign trail for previously refusing to condemn the phrase, which has been seen as a call to violence against Jews. Mamdani's shifting language comes amid a general election battle against Mayor Eric Adams and former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who are running as independents, and the Republican nominee, Curtis Sliwa. Willie.
New York Times reporter covering Wall Street, Lauren Hirsch, is following the latest on all this. She joins us now, also with us, president of the National Action Network and the host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, Reverend Al Sharpton. Good morning to you both. So, Lauren, let's pick up on this meeting with Zohran Mamdani yesterday. Business leaders in New York City, some heavyweights in the room, some who decided not to attend. Jamie Dimon had a scheduling conflict. He was not there. What did they hear from him? Did he sort of assuage their suspicions at all about him? What was it like in the room?
They heard a really charming, affable guy who was well prepared. He made jokes. He made self-deprecating jokes. But they did not hear someone who changed his policies. And so if you had concerns about his economic policies going into the meeting, you had the same concerns going out. For some people, the charm and his disarming nature was enough to calm people a little bit. For others, the fact that he was very much sticking to his policies further enraged them. So there was a bit of a division coming out of the room in terms of response. But in the room, it was mostly cordial. It was mostly pleasant. There was one quite pointed question effectively saying, how can you tell us you're not going to drive business out of New York? And he danced around it a bit. I think his message was, I believe strongly in my policies, but I don't think they're bad for business. And I think many of the business leaders saw a little bit of a disconnect in how you.
This story's fake. I keep hearing conflicting stories. Yeah. Half of the people that were privy to what took place in the meeting are saying Zohran stood firmly and we hate it. And then the other half are saying he actually capitulated on a lot of the stuff, but we still hate it. Everybody hates him. Whether they heard what they wanted to hear or did not get what they wanted to get out of Zohran, everybody came out of that meeting, unsurprisingly, as he is a wily devil, cunning. Seems like that's the only unifying position here from all of the events that we have traced from secondhand testimony. The CEO's hate that he was charismatic is like the thing that everybody took away from this meeting.
You connect those two dots. But overall, they found a nice, charming guy, and they were, they appreciated the fact that he wanted to meet with them.
This is a guy who he's not trying to run from who he is, which he says, I'm a democratic socialist. He said just a week ago, billionaires should not exist.
Yeah.
When asked, there were some billionaires in the room. He said, I'm going to tax you more. That's true. But I believe it's the best thing for our city. What about the story that Mika just walked us through, where he said, okay, I won't use the phrase globalize the Intifada, and I will discourage others from using it almost sort of grudgingly, because he's refused to condemn that language even as recently in the last few days.
Right. So that answer came after he was being pushed on Israel and his views on that by the CEO of Pfizer. And my understanding is it was a fairly long response before he got to it. Some people were very happy to hear that. And as I said, some people, it's never going to be enough. So others weren't mollified. And by the way, one person I spoke to didn't even hear it. It was interesting. I called him back. I was like, did he say this? He was like, no, I didn't hear it. So I think there is an element of almost hearing what you want to hear as you go through this process.
And it'll be interesting to watch if he does, maybe he's moderating on this, or there are other positions he also takes more of a slightly centrist tact as he heads to a general election. That would obviously be a play that we've seen from other progressives. Also of note, he really praised Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, who's wildly popular in Boston, and distanced himself from Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, decidedly less so, Rev. But he also enters a race here where the setup seems to really favor him. First of all, anytime you have a D next to your name, you're the Democratic nominee in a deep blue city, that is helpful. He's got that. But if Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams both persist in this race and are both vying for the same sort of centrist vote, they split that. That only helps Mamdani.
No, I think the fact that Andrew Cuomo has now announced he's in the race, which I, among others, asked him not to. Let's have a one-on-one. The fact that he's in makes it highly unlikely that Zohran does not win. I talked to some people last night who were part of the partnership meeting, and they were relatively impressed with Zohran. They had very serious concerns. And they were impressed. He's very charismatic, which we found. He came twice to National Action Network. And some of them agreed with him, some disagreed. But they say he's a lot more personable and more informed than they thought. I've said to him when he's come met with us that, in my early days, you would say things or identify with people that say things that you should just say, that is not right. That is not what I meant. He went as far as saying he will tell people not to say it again. But you've got to say it's not right. It's not right to talk about things or say things that is morally wrong. So I think that he will, in many ways, not give up what he believes, but then he has to be judged by what he believes. And I think he's willing to take the penalty for that.
So Laura, in a similar vein, the people you talk to in that room, who might be more inclined to support an Adams or a Cuomo, what's their view on the two of them both staying in and complicating things?
Not happy. I mean, a lot of Wall Street donors have really been pushing one, or for them, ideally both, to drop. They want a real competitor. So they were unhappy that Cuomo decided to stay. And of course, Cuomo still has supporters, and he will continue to have supporters. But I think they see a little bit of writing on what they think is the writing on the wall, given the race as it stands now.
And so, what is their fear if Mamdani does become the mayor of New York City? I mean, they sort of vocalized them in that room yesterday, but what are their specific fears about what happens to the city?
So one of the biggest things that I hear is just lack of experience. You can talk about taxes, you can talk about his other policies, but they really wonder whether or not he just has the experience to run the city. Like, these people are managers, they know the challenges that come with that. There's, of course...
Yeah, he's quite the intellectual for a barbaric little Muslim.
And a second day of meetings set to begin between the New York City Democratic mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani.
This guy's another guy who can't say Mamdani and can't even say Intifada and will, still act like he's terrified of it. Anyway, all this stuff is coming from the reporting that took place. There's conflicting reports from Semaphore as opposed to Wall Street Journal about Whether or not Zohran Mamdani actually backed away from saying globalize the intifada or whatever the doesn't really matter ultimately. I don't know where this will go. There was a Politico reporting that said that they were going to make a big reveal about Zohran's statements. He was going to do a big announcement on the intifada stuff, which is so stupid. Don't back down. Nobody cares about this. Be honest. Be honest. Honesty is the best policy. Okay? That's it. Because backing down and capitulating to these cynical charlatans that are simply trying to manufacture outrage will cause you to be dishonest, when honesty and earnesty is what got you the victory. Okay? That's it. I said this yesterday. Per source who attended the partnership for a meeting with Zohran Mamdani, he said he understands globalized intifada is interpreted by New Yorkers as a call for violence, blah, blah, blah. I said, this isn't a sincere request. Any concession on this, instead of moving on to the real issues that matter, will make this a bigger story for the media to farm. They will then ask why Zohran Mamdani doesn't condemn it anytime someone else says it. They'll move the goalpost. That's it. It's like an admission.